Now, once again, as we are ready to simply explore the complete chaos that the two of the most well-known rap artists have produced, their supporters won't enjoy what I have to say, and especially the Drake ones. Don't forget to hit like, and before we continue, please subscribe. We can all hear Travis Scott's The New Album just took a terrible turn, after a decline. Additionally, Drake has produced quite the mess after completing this set comes after the Wireless Festival. Now, however, when it comes to the whole hip-hop's current situation, well, today, when you observe the surroundings and how the Iceman is attempting to melt away, and observe Travis Scott's attempts to enter rap, the booth is simply in complete chaos. Furthermore, we see what's going on between Drake and Travis now after Drake simply completed performing 3 nights in a row at Wireless Fest. What we can say then is that the most enduring effect is that Lamius is the first name and Lubri is the last name. Created with this program is this discussion and split that he made in order to demonstrate where he now stands, which is out of route with the Seoul region haven't provided him with any kind of assistance since the beef in the United Kingdom. As of Drake, of course, he's said things through he's performing here on the second night and declared the UK to have the greatest lyricists who rap and who are just superior to those in the US. Just the MCs are just superior to those in the ES, as well as his own House of Six. Furthermore, Drake's actions have produced a complete mess that is roughly to create the Skepta rap feud between the US and the US. And the US, bringing Lucas Joyner, Nur, and also Rocky becomes even larger as soon as possible. But today, as Drake is attempting to prepare to take over the UK, rap to get influence, which is why he is leaning heavily on this as these terrible because LRE discussions are taking place regarding which area produces the best rappers, and lyricists in particular. Unfortunately, Drake's actions are preparing for the next grift in UK rap. Now people are seated there and engaging justifying a 5J's superiority as a lyricist compared to Central C. Or how we just have Kendrick Lamar, and a successful conclusion to the discussion since nobody in the UK is able to take on Kendrick or even 20 other MCs, if we're being completely truthful, bar for bar on their worst day. Additionally, Toto, be honest, this is why Drake's perspective, it's awful. And it's obvious that he is just retaliating against the USB here. Here, the rappers have demonstrated that they are superior to him, and they're all right not having him around. And Scott been turned down more on the birthplace of High Dirt than any other place. From the rappers are seen by many in the industry as a whole. Everyone has just instructed HLE Ave.leave. Additionally, as for the UK, they recently received their movement's new face to attempt to take the lead in hip-hop due to the fact that this is something they have been attempting to do in a way since Drake is Curveriavel known promoting the story they wish to tell to be referred to as so awful. Let's be truthful. Overall, this is absurd. And Lubri's humiliating acting everything other rising than simply making decent music and showing show. Appreciation for someone in the hip-hop scene who was observing the guidelines that each and great MC has have followed. Listed. Since let's even assume the best of Drake because pause and state that he is speaking. Discussing rappers nowadays rather than legends for the argument's sake, will he actually do this with this still? Tell us, as you sit here, that Dave Central Jehu's Seppa. And those individuals are better as a group and capable of out-rapping. Freddie Giash, Cole D, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Joe's Wetshirt, Sweatshirt, and TCR, Eat or .E Creator, and so many others. Like Absol, honestly. Now that there are a few outstanding authors in the UK, such as Dave and Lyle Carner and Lil Sims, when you truly take a look at the picture and find out who Drake is actually speaking to. Roughly here, which is once artistic, anyone, if anyone, has Sims' level of talent. But it's only celebrities to whom he can appeal for fans and rest from in an effort to improve his reputation and Find a companion of some kind can get what he can an idea from, as he obviously doesn't own several of those. In general, nevertheless, when take a look at everything, it's just another dull step away from Drake, which I'm sat will to simply end badly for every one election actions he has taken during this period. However, when we examine this whole controversy that Drake has been attempting to weigh for and simply alter things, with this terrible rap eve in the US and the UK that will begin as soon as we move past Tola Drake's vexing arguments. Fans are attempting to simply take a look at hip-hop checkering and check out the current state of affairs, okay? So now, honestly, as we sit, this can discuss all of this if you simply see what's happening, see? You'll see this argument ends because of the cause why everything revolves on the recent rap's significant tipping moment, the kind of music that makes the losers pay another crash that, regrettably, we must be. The waitin', and what I'm talking about, is being bought on by Balone. Clips alone, alt of with their most recent album and Aries effects is creating what we observe with top songwriters who simply reek more, not just in other rappers, but whole labels. As well as Popsaka's formers, such J.S. ability to Behasaz. Even he's shown some items that made people wild about them, whether he knew exactly what he was doing and not it or not at all. Once more, discovering is discovering, leaving the response of the are those OP present, him present, are crying over this whole rap situation and inside the culture. The leading Kendrick, Malice, and other lyricists' demand for Phuket has never been higher, and their statements have never held sway, stronger because of what they are affecting. It's good once more, without making an effort to move the machines and hype beasts, but with individuals who engage with and are hip-hop enthusiasts and those interested in the genre. Additionally, even with other rappers regarding each of these elements. The game is evolving due to their amazing greatest new record of all time, and what the most significant sign of this really boils down to the confrontation we are witnessing between Travis Scott and Pusha T, and after then, the video is recorded and Travis Scott's new Jack Boys 2 album comes out. And what comes next? What we're witnessing with these American musicians is that following an attempt to compete with a peak this side's lyricist for Pusha T, fortunately for Travis Scott, who is regarded as a superstar in the field, and most recently in popularity was immediately behind for a few years. Kendrick and Drake might actually be carried out because after putting out this new record in such a crucial moment, as shown by the early response from hip-hop and fans, despite what the figures indicate for Travis, he upholds standards. As a whole, the record is having several issues and is descending on a level that appears rather awful at the moment due to, and Travis is an artist, having recently released a 17-song attempt to try to start this fresh phase of his profession, and, moreover, create a significant statement at a period in rap where, following the dispute between Kendrick and Drake, few rappers have indeed succeeded in even achieving success as a result of the bar being set substantially higher. And the majority of what is dropping is just unnecessary, that no one is even interested. Okay, as a result, what we're witnessing is that involving the rapper who, in 2023, Kendrick went into hiding for a while following Drake and Mr. Morale. They were both getting tired. Rap with the same mid. He used to repeatedly get away with it. Well, based on the figures, with Utopia and Travis being the largest things back then. Now let's see if we are seeing that from the figures, which are a significant drop thus far in the conversation and the culture's reaction. It really seems so much less substantial than anything Travis has really done since entering the scene. Once more, things are simply not looking good due to 17 albums in this time period. So now Travis had 35 million streams upon launch, which doesn't matter if we were looking at nearly any other rapper. I mean, once more, Travis has been viewed as a mere figure, generator, and who are the industry leaders referred to as the largest market? Hip-hop artists other than Kendrick Lamar. Following the altercation, they were the two individuals who might create some significant influence in the genre with their tunes. All things considered, this is a huge back-offer. A man who is perceived as a generator of numbers in many ways. And this is a significant decline, but you wish to examine it. Additionally, generally speaking, what we are learning is that Travis Scott is now based on this occurrence. Well, it's not good. However, it appears that this record is a complete failure on some level, since it comes after Jackboy's 1, Astroworld's Run, and Utopia, which all performed astronomically well and featured amazing songs. Followed by a return with this document, which manages to be almost as large as the typical solo albums, but is almost devoid of everything, which is the reason it's stuck in this place. Overall though, given how awful this album is and how unlistenable it is after the first tracks, together with Travis Scott's terrible T-disc push, which produces he appears more like a comedy since lyricism is more prevalent in this period. Demand more than ever. Ultimately, for a man of 35 to call an elderly guy of 48 years and have that be the disc. And that's the main idea. This is just crazy, really. Additionally, it's a poor everything on show for Travis Scott. Additionally, because Travis has been a numbers person in terms of how this album has almost half of the vocals directly from him, which relates to what Utopia had. It's not so far away. What we observe is that in spite of his being there with all the packages and ready to get those 7-song vinyls naturally, the first week's figures are higher. Travis is the largest retailer of bundles in the match. However, it continues to lose the pop and Justin Bieber's numbers game, and it's losing its effect on hip-hop. Additionally, the rebuttal to the problems with this record and a lackluster response to Travis is that these records serve as showcases for labels, and everything else, thus it is irrelevant. Initially, Jack Boys was 7 years old. Songs, and with that tiny quantity of songs, it achieved over 150,000 in the first week. We are witnessing that justification. It's not credible when you observe how did Travis Scott construct this. To record into an album with 17 songs where he features on most of the tunes. In any case, he desired to make this the largest record he could make, and for everyone more beyond the initial aims and goals. Jackboy's record due to the fact that how many of his songs are here. This is essentially simply a solo. Travis Scott's album features a number of characteristics that are somewhat similar to Jay-Z's involvement with the Dynasty in the day. Currently, as the first Jackboys album, it was jam-packed with enormously popular tunes like Pop Smokes, Gotti. This was either out west or on fantastic tracks, such as that. However, what we're witnessing with Why Jackboys 2 is a record. The reason it struggles is that it has no moments that perfectly convey the enchantment of what it should be. A collective label album. Additionally, Travis Scott's whereabouts are tracked. Really doing any action that is establishing him as an authentic leader in hip-hop in the dot era right now. Additionally, when a legendary level record comes out, it was released a few days prior, which is once more why. Aside from the hype creatures, the Clips album continues to rule the interaction as the verses levels and attention to detail in the creation. And each is listening more to the tale. Enjoyable. In the meantime, with Travis, that is. There are times when males are physically yelling and making strange noises and are simply shouting in your ear in auto-tune. Inconsistently, which further renders this record not only average but really poor. An occasionally unlistenable overall collection of work. Again, when you just look at this, you understand that it's much too lengthy, and the features are very awful. Additionally, outside of really Don Toiver, everyone's simply quite irritating to listen to, since they simply stay in this mediocre environment. And unconventional. Additionally, with this record simply having this emotion, what I believe is it's crucial to realize that it's not simply as a result of the shifting times in hip-hop. Even though that isn't helpful, Travis Scott is also to blame, directly, since this might potentially sound crazy, but a tipping point is occurring. He should start where things are. It's going to get terrible. Furthermore, It's not only due to the possibility that Pusha T has a diss track prepared to alter every aspect of him or anything similar. But the reason for this is who we are, Travis Scott, observing this album in particular. In numerous ways, he's finished. And the reason for this is that the Jack Boys provided him with this large group outdoors to attempt aura farming with Don Toliver, who has a fantastic voice for such things as hooks. The other men aren't very good. However, I must admit that what I've been saying is, considering the fact that Travis Scott has solidified his reputation as the worst hip-hop musician with albums of truly high caliber prior to this, and the distinction in the interim between all of these recent records, which ultimately proved effective and had fantastic moments. And this is what we observe. Travis Scott's greatest trick is no longer effective, due to the manner in which his circle has changed and he's been betrayed. That's just the reality, that Travis has no one left to offer him suggestions. Less and more gifted musicians whose leftovers he can use. And now let's simply go over it, okay? From T, whose first two mixtapes were popular, and who was among the trio of executives Rodeo Touye producers, who also, Rodeo and On, were executive. Produced by Utopia and Astro Worldwell, he didn't simply allow him to create tracks using song samples, similar to 90,210. However, with both of those albums, several highlights, and in particular, Utopia, were essentially basically evidence that the man who ought to have retired with the release of D.A. did not place on his records. Furthermore, that's what fleshed out these documents and made them so fantastic. If these men weren't there, then without Mike Dean and without Fell, who criticized the album immediately after it plummeted as he spoke, it seemed to show how awful Travis is at his job, and that is reflecting once more in the finished version and mix of this recording that we listened to. Then once more, even now, with Drake, for whatever you want to say, Travis, concerning him. His little collisions were giving Travis to Major Records and SIBO, Meltdown Mode, regardless of how pathetic he was for being against two additional men, who made many more contributions to his career in these documents. Additionally, altogether, none of these men without any very attractive traits who once more, Travis would imitate their style to create a fantastic song. Like we saw with Pop Smoke and Jack Scotty One Boy, in general, in this album, Travis Scott revealed his largest shortcoming as a rapper and performer, which does make sense from a poetic standpoint in the overall direction of the record, without the ideal group of individuals that he was able to be present with, because he was raised approximately with both T and the good system of music. He's sort of suffering at the moment. And once more, without any significant tracks from this album that will remain in the top ranks, and with a complete arrivals corpus of work that simply has more glitz. And once more, to help bridge the gap even more, when contrasting the stream on the day of their debut, you will observe the number of persons in the gap. These two albums are very amazing to listen to. Travis's size is not so large, considering that Pusha T is never creating Fortnite collar music, but it's Travis Scott actually, though. Now is the time for all of this is terrible. Travis Scott, and he's having problems, and there's nothing else. What a way to phrase it. Furthermore, as a lyricist who might outstrip the whole United Kingdom and promote a Tay, he may actually release a diss tune about him soon here too. However, we could actually be observing the situation worsen from here. Travis Scott's decision to take such a huge loss at the moment. Next, with Drake, who is being made fun of for simply attempting to become involved in the UK rap scene and depart from the US because he was denied. Well, seeing Drake is amusing, and Travis simply spirals simultaneously. Furthermore, given that both of these circumstances exist, there will undoubtedly be many more events until we determine the cause of these recent failures. However, what we are seeing now that the pen has returned to the hip-hop leader and the evolving clips. All right, Hey, these guys are simply finished as of right now, and I don't believe it's going to improve for them in any way. Thus, now that you have mentioned all of this, please let me know. How do you feel about Drake's mess? Began with this rapper from the United Kingdom. Argument, what are your thoughts on Jack? Boys 2's current performance, how when compared to Clips? What do you think? Believe will eventually occur with Push. A T and Travis Scott's circumstances since their albums are currently competing. I'm eager to hear now. What are your thoughts on all of this? Now, assuming you arrived at this stage of the video, don't forget to hit like and sign up. It's really helpful to me. And now, if you're interested in seeing how well, during the second night of Drake's, he attempted to disparage Wireless Festival, Kendrick Lamar, and it simply looked really awful. In addition, Travis Scott's disc Pusha T, and I explain how awful that is. The dish went much deeper. Verify. Check out the recommended video.